This is BJJ Hood, tapping into Jiu-Jitsu lives on and off the mats.
Hello, hello. We are back. This is the BJJ Hood podcast. I'm Babby, your host.
And Jay, your co host.
We're here to share inspirational stories about women in Jiu-Jitsu and how the martial art changed their lives. Our episodes are out every Thursday, so make sure you are following us on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any of the new episodes. We are on YouTube with subtitles in Portuguese for all the interviews that are in English and subtitles in English for all the interviews that are in Portuguese. On YouTube, too, you're going to be able to see our pretty faces. So make sure you check that out. And follow us on Instagram, too. That's where we're posting the snippets of the interviews. That way you can know who we are interviewing that week. Some news, some information. So just follow us there at BJJ Hood podcast. You also know that your support it's really really important. So make sure you leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. If you watch us on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment for us there. And if you're following us on Instagram, make sure you are sharing some information. You're sending the episodes to your friends. That way we can reach more people. Today with us, we have Mariele Klering. She's a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu. She has been training since 2020 and she lives in New Zealand. And recently she published a great book. It's about women in Jiu-Jitsu. It's called The Mat as a Mirror. We're going to talk today about her journey in Jiu-Jitsu and also, of course, about her book. Mary, welcome to the BJJ Hood podcast. We're really happy to have you here.
Hey, oh, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Of course. I want to start asking you. We like to ask this for everybody. How did you start jujitsu? Like, what brought you to jujitsu, or who brought you to jujitsu?
Yeah, great question. So I think for me, it started with my partner. So I met my partner in New Zealand, and at the time before we started dating, we were just friends, and he was already doing jiu-jitsu at this school here in New Zealand called DS Team. And we were always talking like he and his friends talking, oh, you should go, you should do a trial class. There are a lot of women there, they will welcome you very well, so you should go. You have this yoga background, so I had some yoga background, and I used to do yoga in Brazil. And then they were telling me, oh, this is going to be so good for you, you're gonna smash those guys, you're flexible, so come with us. And I was like, oh no, I was never into jiu-jitsu, so I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll go. Like I was always saying like, oh no, maybe next time, maybe next time, those kind of things. And it was really funny, as they were always telling me the same thing, like you should come like every weekend. At some point I was so stubborn that I was like, oh no, now I don't want to go because you pushing too hard. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like that. So it went like that for some time, and then I started dating Lucas, my partner, and he was still doing jujitsu and then still trying to get me into it. But it was really not my thing. I think I was more like the yoga type at the time. Like I enjoyed yoga, so I was like, oh, jujitsu maybe is too rough for me. I had those things in my mind that were not allowing me to accept that. So it was just kind of limitations about jujitsu as a martial art. So it took me some time to understand how how what it actually is. So then it came 2020, COVID and all of those things. So here in New Zealand, we had like major lockdown, and during the lockdown, we couldn't. It was like 3 months, 2 to 3 months of just staying home, like not actually being able to go out. It was all that crazy thing, like no one knows what is happening. And during that period of being here, my father got sick in Brazil, and it was really quick. Within 1 month, he passed away in Brazil. And as I was here, lockdown, there was no flights for me to go to Brazil, so I had to just stay here, face the fact, and just go through it. So I got into a really depressive state, like really bad. I don't remember a lot of that period of my life. So it was really a hard time that I was having here. And when lockdown was over, I was still on that very bad place. But then Lucas got me into a self defense class on this jiu jitsu school, the DS Team Jiu Jitsu school. And then I said, oh, okay, it's a self defense class. I'll give it a go. And then I went there and it was amazing. It was 1 hour and a half to 2 hours that I was just there. That was amazing for me because I was really in that bad place in my head that I was either like looking at the past or looking at the future, like you're not really present. And that self-defense class, it got me there. Like I was there, like experiencing everything, like just watching people and like learning that I could break someone's arm, which I thought I was never, it was never possible for me. So it was amazing. I was really there. So it was a pause from everything that was happening, and it was what I really needed that on that time. So it was just it was so good for me. And then at the time I partnered up with Patricia, which is the owner of the school, Sensei's wife, and she's multiple world champions. Like she has like won championships and all that stuff. And she she was so kind to me, and she like the exchange of energy was so nice. And so I got that report that I was needing, and so she
Yeah.
invited me to come back for a trial class, and I said, oh, okay, why not? And then I came back on the next week, and it was the same thing. I think what got me hooked in was that jujitsu required me to be there. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have time to think about what was happening outside. I had to leave everything outside and just be there, because it was so demanding. It was a challenge for me as well, but in a good way, because it was just like a pause from what was happening. I was just there, and that made me feel so good afterwards because, after doing something that difficult, like looking outside when you step out of the class, you feel like, oh, okay, I can deal with everything that is happening now. Like I can feel better, like it's not, maybe it doesn't feel that bad anymore. So that kind of feeling that really got me hooked in. And then I never stopped. I just, yeah, it's been like that since 2020. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was gonna ask you, what was the thing in the beginning when like all the guys were trying to push you to do the class? Like, what was the thing that was stopping you from going to class? Because there's two things, and you said something that's funny and it's really important. It's like they pushed you so much that you were got to a point where you were just refusing because they were pushing too hard. And like for us, you do jiu-jitsu now, and you probably go through that of like, after you get hooked, you want all your friends and everybody that you know to do it too. One, what was the thing that was stopping you in the beginning to go? Because you already had your partner there, somebody like that you trusted, and I think that makes things easier to transition into it. And also, like, what is the point where you're like, that's way too much, they're asking too much, I'm not gonna go anymore?
Yeah. So for me, it was that limitation of I'm not comfortable of being close to someone that much because jujitsu it's a close sport. So
Hmm.
you're gonna be close to someone maybe that you don't know. So I was uncomfortable about that, and also I was very afraid to get hurt. That was something for me, like, maybe it's too rough, maybe I'm gonna get injured, maybe I'm not ready for this. And so
Hmm.
that was something that I had on my mind, that it was not like, and I didn't see the benefits at that point. They were
Hmm.
just saying, oh, it's great, you're gonna get fit, you're gonna get. But I was looking more for something, for mindset, for like self-development. And at that time I didn't see that, like I didn't see that that could be a tool for me. So that was
Yeah.
something that it had me like, oh no, I'm not sure if I should go. And also it's like I didn't know, like, oh, how many women I'm gonna find there, you know, will I be able to train with women or maybe just guys? So I'm not too sure, not too, you know, like too sure about this. So that was something that got me like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go. And I think the insisting on it, and you're right, I do this with my friends all the time, like, okay, shut up, you know. But yeah, I think at some point, if you start pushing too much, I'm just like that's something that I said to Lucas at some point. Like I already made my point, you know, like why are you trying to push me? Like you should maybe you know like see made me see for another perspective. Then I think that will work, you know. But just saying like,
Mhm.
oh come on, let's go, come on, let's go. I'm at that point I was not that was not convincing me. I think that's yeah, that's the thing. I think maybe making people see from other perspective the benefits and the good things that they can find there, maybe it's a good idea to get them hooked, you know.
Yeah.
So it was the
Mm.
self-defense class that was the different perspective that you needed. Is that
Yes.
what it was? Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And he just and that's like he just said, "Hey, let's go to the self-defense," and that was just kind of like, "Okay, I'll do a self-defense just to get you like off my back," or
Now it was more like we didn't have anything else to do, and then they had this self-defense, and I was like, oh, okay, I should go out and see more people because at the time I wasn't seeing a lot of people. I was really like just at home, you know, just trying to deal with myself. So I was, oh, okay, maybe I should see different people, like different energies. Let's try this. You know, if it doesn't work, it's just a self-defense class. I'm not, you know, I'm not signing up for anything.
yeah,
Like it's
Mhm.
just a self-defense.
that
I
makes
think
But
you
it
sense.
said
changed everything, yeah.
Yeah, you said something that I think it's really important because it's like jujitsu is gonna have a like a different um meaning for each person. So for some people, it's gonna be a place where they can work out and where they can spend their energy. For some people, it's gonna be just a place where they can relieve stress after work, have a space to hang out with their friends or something like that. For some people it's like competition and they want to go and they want to fight and they want to go hard. For some people it could be just the mental health part. So it's like jiu-jitsu can be different for each person, and I think when you're trying to get somebody to start that and to do something like that, you have to first see like what they need and what are they looking for, right? Like you're not looking for fighting or being rough or the workout part. Like you didn't want that. You wanted something that helped your mind, especially at the moment that you were leaving, probably one of the hardest moments of your life, I would say. um and that's what people needed to show you, like, hey, when you were there, because that's what I tell a lot of people, like when you are there doing jiu-jitsu, there's no way you're gonna think about anything else. Like you can't, because if you start like moving your thoughts to, I don't know, the bills that you have to pay, the family that you are away from, your kids, all the problems you have at home, you're gonna get choked. You're
Mm.
like you're not gonna perform. Like you have to be in there paying attention to what you're doing, all the little details that matter. So like there's no time. So I think if they approached you and they showed you that that other side of jiu-jitsu, maybe you would have started earlier. But there's also, like, I saw you saying this on your Instagram, and I think that's like the key thing too. We just start when is the right time to start. Maybe if you had started before, it wouldn't have the power that it had when you started, when you needed, and that's all you needed at that time. So I think it always like falls in place when is the perfect and the right time for it. So you can see all the benefits and you can use those benefits for your life, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that because it came for me when I actually needed. And I remember at the beginning it was hard, even though I was up to the, you know, to come to classes, it was really hard to be there. And because, you know, like it's like you said, sometimes your mind will try to get away from that and you will remember the things that are happening, but you have to focus and be there. And one thing that really got me like going because it was so hard, like I didn't want to get out of my place, like get out of home, but I had to get out to go to class, and then I'll be like, oh, Lucas will be my partner will be, oh, come on, let's go. I'll go with you. You know, if you go, I'll go. So we had like a kind of like an agreement to help each other. So he helped me so much to get to class because that was also a hard part for me, getting to class. And I remember like at the end of each class, Sensei Douglas, which is the sensei from Dia's team, he would say like one thing that he said, I remember so clearly now that it really touched me is like he said, life is not gonna get easier. You need to get stronger.
Mm.
That's exactly what I needed to hear at that time. Like I remember my like I will always cry at the end of the class because I don't know if it's just like from relief or from sadness, but it made me come back every day. Like even though it was hard, I came back because I was seeing some progress, like and listening to the things also that he had to say, like those things, bad things will happen, and that's unfortunate, but we have to learn how to deal with that. And I found in jiu-jitsu a way to deal with that, a way to help me deal with the bad things that will happen, that happened to me. So that's what really is amazing about jiu-jitsu. And I know it's not this for everyone, I know it's different for everyone, but for me, that was the hook that got me in it, and that's why I'm still in, because it helps me go through these difficult moments of life. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're talking about yoga. Like, how do you think? Because I think jujitsu can help you with a lot of different sports, and a lot of different sports also can help you with your jujitsu. How do you think that yoga helped in your jujitsu journey? And what are the things that you think that you take from yoga that you can use in your jujitsu? And I don't know if you still do yoga or not, but you can also talk about that.
I try to do like a regular small practice at home, but I don't go to classes anymore. I used to go more to classes, but now I switched to jiu-jitsu. But definitely, I think it can help. Yoga is an addition to jiu-jitsu because you already if you're already doing yoga. In my case, I was already doing yoga. I knew how my body could move in a way, so I learned that throughout the years because I practiced for like 5 to 6 years in Brazil. So I had a knowledge of how far I could go in terms of flexibility, and also it really helped me not getting hurt, not getting injured at the beginning, because that's something I would hear from a lot of women or even the guys around. Like, as you're starting, you don't know how to move, how to use your strength at the beginning. So sometimes you get hurt so easily. So I think I didn't have that because I knew how my body could move, or what were my limitations at that point. So I really think it can help, um, and especially being more, I think, agile, being more able to move around. I guess that's something I have from yoga, that it really helps me. But of course, it's not all of that. I had to, I would bring some things, but I have to like mold those things, like shape those things to
Mm-hmm.
jiu-jitsu. And that was the key for me. But yeah, I also try to like do some stretching after class. That's also something that really helps, like know where do I need to stretch if I have a back pain, if I have, if my legs hurt, or if like something like that, if my shoulder hurts, like what kind of stretch I can do for all those things. So that really helps as well, like getting to a state where I'm not gonna feel so sore after, the day after.
Mm-hmm.
So it really helps. I think it helps, like having that addition to jiu-jitsu, whatever that is. Sometimes for some people it's getting to the gym and lifting weights. It all helps. I think it's just, like the jiu-jitsu that it's so much for the body. I think sometimes, like it's a lot of, not hit, but it requires too much from the body. So if we can take care of it, afterwards, like not just during the class, it's amazing. I think it can do amazing things, and you can have a longer jiu-jitsu life. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You're talking about that women's group that that was one of the things in the beginning that kind of like made you, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go and just train with the guys? Like, I think you guys have a good group. I think I saw pictures on your Instagram
Mhm.
from a good group of women that you have. How important do you think it is to have that group to make somebody that it's new coming into the class feel comfortable? And it's something that I always tell the girls. I'm like, you're gonna be fine. Start with the girls, but I'm sure you're gonna be fine after a few classes. You're gonna realize that it's okay going with the men too, and that it's even good for you because you're gonna feel their strength, and you're gonna see you're able to also do stuff against them even though they're stronger than you a lot of the times. But how important it is on that beginning, and how important was it for you to have the professor's wife working with you, to have that group of women where you could just um get together and work with and feel comfortable in those first months?
It was really, for me, it was really important to have those, the girls there because, and we have, today we have a big group of girls for our school is around 25 to 30. And when I joined, it was a little bit less than that, but still, I would feel so welcome when they would pick me up, when like uh, the professor or the sensei would teach the technique, and then everyone would spread out to do the technique with someone, like find a training partner. And I would feel so relieved that, at the first times when some of the girls would just pick me in, so I wouldn't have to, I was so uncomfortable already, so they would make me feel welcome. So I think it was a big change for me, like a big thing. It was really important to have those girls there for me, because they would calm me down and say, look, it's okay, I know it's overwhelming, just pay attention to what, if you can remember one thing, that would be awesome. But just like having someone that already been through what you're going through now, and showing you the way, I think it's so good. It made me like come back all the time as well, like knowing that
Mm.
the girls will be there, and they will help me out, and like seeing higher belts, like even same size of me, like I'm a small size, I'm like, I'm very light, so I, at the beginning, I will feel very overwhelmed, like everyone will be stronger than me, everyone will be taller than me. So seeing also those small girls beating up the guys, the big guys, it was so awesome. I will look at that like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do that. So it was something like looking at to them like as, oh, okay, I can do that as well, and they are showing me the way. So I think showing the support to someone that is starting, it's really important. I think it's the difference of, are they gonna stay or not, like if they have the right support, and if they really want to, they will stay, and they will get the best experience, right? I had an
Mm.
amazing experience at the beginning because of those girls, and that's what I try to do now when I see girls like joining, like, I want to help them. I want
Mm.
them to see how good it can be for them, and that it is overwhelming at the beginning, but it's okay. We all been through that, like we can help each other, and that's how we can improve faster, and just, have that support group. It's so amazing. Also, you you get that, even though you maybe you're not best friends at the end of the day, but we got each other's back. That's the thing that I like, like we are there, we are doing something difficult together. So we kind of like, oh, okay, I know, yeah, maybe today I had a bad day, maybe you had a bad day, but we're here, so let's just help each other. So that kind of thing that I really
Mm.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, you get really close to each other, not just in jiu-jitsu, like, but in life too. I think you can kind of sense if the person is like going through a hard time and you can help them, or if you are going through it, like you kind of just kind of balance and can help each other as you're training. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I wanted to move on to your book now and ask you, like, how did you have that idea? Were you a writer before? Is that your first book? Like, how did you come up with the idea of writing a book about jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I always loved to read since I was a kid. Like reading was a passion for me, like it still is. I love to read. And sometimes I remember since I was a kid, like when I didn't like a book like how the book would end, I will write my own version of it. So I still like it was something that I used to do all the time. And also I have the practice of writing it. So the idea of the book, it was really something that came like it was like a snap of an idea, like, oh, okay, that would be nice. Like what I wanted to show with the book, my goal with the book was to show the perspective of women that are just starting, you know, the woman that has just, maybe some women that just started, not, they're not all the way through it, they are just 1 year in or 2 years in. Because I see a lot of content about, you know, black belts and higher belts, and that's amazing. I love to read it. It's so inspiring. But sometimes what I wanted to do is show to someone that is just starting, show the woman's perspective, that someone that is just a few steps ahead of them. You know, like showing the story of someone that is maybe just a few years in, and they can already see the benefits of jiu-jitsu, you know, so the women that are starting now can relate, you know, it's not too far. Because if you see, like if you see, if you're a white belt and you see like a black belt, it might seem too far away, you know, like even though it's inspiring, it's like maybe they will not relate that much. But if you see, if you're just starting and you see someone that is a white belt, but you know, it's right there. You know, she's right there. Maybe I can get to her point as well. So I wanted to make it more relatable, more uh, like help the ones that are just starting now to not give up. And that was my goal when I started writing the book, because I wanted to give the perspective of someone that is just, you know, just starting, and can share the challenges, share the benefits that they are already seeing it, because there are so many. And I got to interview two women for the book. I shared my story, my perspective, and also two more women. Um, and it was amazing, their story I wasn't expecting. It was like amazing stories of just like confidence, and how, you know, it can help you, even though it doesn't matter what you're doing. Are you a businesswoman, are you a mom? Jiu-Jitsu can help you go through the daily challenges of life, all the things that you have to deal with. So that's what I wanted to show, you know, just so I can encourage more women to join, or also, and also encourage the ones that are just joining to not give up. So that was my idea when writing the book. And
Yeah.
it was amazing to see the stories, and also to create that community, you know, because one thing that I realize is, sometimes even though our journeys are unique, sometimes we have the same, we have almost all the challenges are almost like the same challenges. We have the same challenges, but we don't talk about it. That's the thing. Like I know I'm going through something that I find it difficult when I'm, you know, in jiu-jitsu, but and I maybe the other women in the group are also going through the same thing, but we don't talk about it, so we feel alone. So that's what I wanted to bring as well when I wrote the book, is just, you know, sharing the common challenges. And I realized we all have the same, almost the same challenges, and just talking about it, it feels good, because I feel like I'm not alone, and they are not alone, and we can help each other, you know, like just sometimes just talking, like, oh, today was hard, yeah, no, that technique I couldn't get it, like, oh yeah, me neither, you know, just saying that, sometimes you create a connection, and that helps, you know, you coming back on the next day. So
I
that
think
was my
that's
idea.
I think that's key. Like when people go into classes, you see, I mean, even myself, you know, you want to act like, yeah, I totally got that, totally understand that move, or I know how to do that technique. And majority of the time, you know, we'll joke and say it went over your head, but a lot of times you can see that people are really uncomfortable, especially in the beginning when they're white belts, to say that they didn't understand the professor or don't know how to do it, or they totally felt like they understood it when he was saying it, and then when you go to apply it, it like goes way over your head. You're like, I don't even know where he started.
Exactly.
But yeah, you could see how people get very uncomfortable in that environment because they're adults and they always feel like they have a control over their life. and then all of a sudden they don't, and they're newbies and they have to let go of their ego and whatnot to deal with it. So that's key. I have never
Yeah.
heard that perspective, actually. Like, you do it every day, right? And you see it, but I just have never heard it out loud.
Yeah. When you're talking about it, I think it's also there's a lot of people like especially on the position of like not understanding and not wanting to say that they didn't understand. They also don't want to ask for help a lot of the
Mhm.
times. It's funny because we're always telling the kids, "Hey, if you need something, ask for help. Like if you can't do something, let me know. I'll help you." And a lot of the times when we are in a class, you don't want to call the professor. It you feel like you're bothering somebody, or even like what do we tell for a lot of the beginners, like partner up with somebody that has been here longer. Like go find a blue belt, a purple belt, somebody that is a higher belt, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to. Like it's almost like you're taking away from the other person, and you're
Mhm.
like, no, it's not. Like we're here to help, and if you don't ask for help, you're going to have that feeling that you're not improving, that this is not for you, that it's not like good for you. I hear a lot of the times a lot of people that are like thinking about quitting jiu-jitsu, or that you can feel that they are already like on that weird stage. It's when they're feeling that they're not improving, and I'm like, if you tell me that, I'll tell you I feel that a lot of the times. Like there are many, many times I think in every bout, in every year, there are moments, maybe weeks, maybe days, maybe months, that you're like, what am I even doing here? I don't feel that I'm learning anything. Like I don't feel that I'm improving. It feels that I'm just getting worse. Like this people that I used to beat up and like do really well, not even sweat. Now this person is giving me a hard time. Like why am I still doing this, right?
Mhm.
But I think that's part of the process too. It's like accept and understand that are going to be moments that are going to be really hard, that you're not going to understand, that maybe something that is going on outside of jiu-jitsu in your life, it's affecting your performance at the gym. I don't know, there are many things that could happen, or maybe I don't know, the other person's getting really really good, and it's just getting closer to where you are. But like if you give up at that moment, like so what? Like you're not gonna do anything. Like you're not gonna get any better if you give up. You're not
Mhm.
gonna improve anymore if you don't ask questions. If you're not coming to class, oh, I'm not gonna come to class tonight because I don't even understand what that person is talking about and I can't improve. Like, how are you gonna get better? So I think it's like opening up and giving yourself that it's I don't know what's the word for it, but just like you're a beginner always, even if you have been doing this for years, you're always learning. There's always something to learn. Like don't be stubborn and think that you know everything, and ask for help, right? Like
Mhm.
ask away, ask your partners, ask your professors. That's how you're gonna get better, and that's how you're gonna improve in jiu-jitsu.
I think
um
just goes down to that ego, right? Like it really is. Like to be humble enough to ask for help, or be
yes.
humble enough to realize that somebody can beat you that you didn't think that could. And the
Mm-hmm.
possibility that they might be getting better than you, and
Yeah.
being okay with that and still saying, okay, I'm going to still do this even though somebody is better than me.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be, right? You just keep on going, you keep on plugging, and not give up.
Yeah, and use that as a maybe as something that it's gonna help you. Oh my god, I used to beat up Shay and now she's getting really close, or she is beating me up. I'm gonna use that as like I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna train more because I
Mhm.
want to go back to where I was, as like not just to beat you up, but like
That
of
she
like
does.
getting better.
Just to beat me up. That's what she
Just
does.
Yeah.
that's my go in jiu-jitsu. I go there just to beat up Shay. But but not just that. It's just like it's for you to get better. And again, it's not just on the mat. You're talking about it, and that's something that I wanted to ask you for you, like what that did. But it's the self-development part of it. When you go through these phases in jiu-jitsu and you can overcome that, like you can do better, this is you developing yourself outside of jiu-jitsu too, right? And that's what I want to ask you. Like what do you think that jiu-jitsu brought you? What's the like when did you realize that's like, oh my god, this is not helping me just to be a better jiu-jitsu practitioner, it's helping me in life?
Oh wow, that it was so so many moments. Like I would get really frustrated when I would be like not able to progress. Like when you get those feedbacks, but you don't know how to execute them. I will get in that state like, oh, I know that I need to get better on this, but I don't know, it's not happening. Something is not happening. Something is not clicking. So at some point I started to see like that exactly what I needed to improve in the mat was something that I needed to improve outside of the school, like something about myself. Like for example, at the beginning, one of the things that would really stop me from progressing was being too nice to people. I will be too afraid to hurt someone, like my training partner. I'll be afraid to get too rough to them, or to, like to maybe do something quickly and I don't know, maybe, accidentally hurt them. So I'll hold myself back, and but then I will not get the progress that I needed to have. So that's one of the things that I had to improve. But like, and then looking, I was looking at that like in the mat. Okay, I need to get better at you know not always saying sorry, like, oh, sorry about this, oh, sorry about that, like just you know believing that you're there to learn, that the other person is there to learn as well, and that you all in the same space, that they will understand. So
Yeah.
I think looking outside, I also had the same problem. I was always apologizing to people for things that I didn't even do. So those things I had to like learn inside of, like, click inside of my head, like I need to look at this, stop doing this, or maybe find a way to be more confident, not say sorry all the time, because I'm not doing everything wrong, I'm doing things right. And just allow yourself to be yourself, that kind of thing. I think that's one of the things that shifted, that was so big for me, because I was outside, I was always doing that, and then inside of the mats I was doing that as well. And that's something that I talk about in my book, is that's why it's mat as a mirror, because the mat is a mirror of who you are. The way that you're going to portray it inside of the school, inside of class, or doing rolling, sparring, is the way that you portrayed outside of the school. It's the way you are. So when you see things that you have to improve inside, I always try to see it as something that I need to improve outside as well. So one
Yeah.
thing, for example, the last thing now that I'm trying to work on it is getting the confidence that something that I'm doing is gonna work. Because I'm like, in jiu-jitsu, I'm like, oh, I get you a good position, but it's not actually working. It's taking so long, like I have the choke, but it's the person is not tapping, and then I switch because I think this is not working, so I'm gonna switch to another thing. And actually I had that choke. That was the truth. I just had to hold it for a little longer. And then that's something that I do outside as well. Like, if I try something and it's not actually working, it's taking so long, I'll give up and go for the next thing. And that's, if I maybe if I try a little bit longer, if I persist a little bit more, it's gonna work. So, it's taking those things that you learn inside of the mat to outside to life, I think is when it starts to get really interesting. And
Yeah.
that's when everything shifted for me. Like I always try to apply this for outside. Oh, what do I need to change in my head, in my mindset to get better? And then I start to see, like, as soon as I realize that I need to change that, I start to see the improvement in my game as well. This is really the amazing thing that I find. Like, you do it outside, you start to change it outside, and inside you change as well, inside of
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, inside of the mat. So that's really the key for me. That's what I talk about a lot in the book as well.
Yeah. You're saying something that it's really common, and I don't know if everybody, especially the people that are starting jujitsu, if they realize, but a lot, especially women, we're always afraid of hurting each other. And I hear a lot of the times with the white belts, they're like, but I don't want to hurt her. Like, I don't want to do this joke because it's gonna it's gonna choke her. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's the point. Like, you have to. She's not gonna tap if you're not hurting her a little bit, but it's
Exactly.
her responsibility to tap when it really hurts so she doesn't get hurt. So it's, I know it's really hard, and it's easier said than done, because even with me, I've been training for 10 years and I still feel that sometimes. I'm like, especially if I'm going against the guys, I don't care, it's their problem. But especially if I'm
Mhm.
going with the girls, I'm like, I don't want to hurt her. And I'm a little bigger, like I'm on the heavier side of the women's brackets, let's say like that. I'm not a small person, so I'm always worried that anything that I do will hurt. And my therapist, she said something before, and it was like where it clicked to me. It was, especially for competition, I like to compete. And she was like, when you train with women, if you're going too nice with them, when you go to competition that you are competing against women, you're going to be nice to them there too. So you have
Um,
to shift that on your mind,
yeah.
and like start training, going hard with the women's on the mats at your gym, so you can perform better when you go against women's that are not from your gym on a competition. And I'm like, that makes total sense, because when
Mm,
I'm going with the guys, I go like I'm gonna kill them. But then when I go with the girls, it switches a little bit for me, and I want to be that nice person. It's that same mindset you had. I'm like, I don't want to be taken as the asshole that it's just beating up everybody here. Like, I don't want the girls to think anything bad about me. And that's how I am in, like, outside of jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't want to say anything to you that might hurt your feelings, because you're gonna be like, oh my god, baby, it's really mean. But at the same time, a lot of the times I'm doing things that I'm not comfortable with just to please you, just so you're not mad at me. And then
exactly.
I started realizing that too recently, and I'm like, I'm so sorry if it hurts you, but I'm not gonna hurt myself just to not hurt you, you know? And I think there is like, it takes it some time, especially for who's starting in jiu-jitsu, to understand how to apply that to jiu-jitsu. But it's really good what you were talking about, and how you can take those lessons and realize the things that you were doing there, why is this not working, and take that a little more deep, and understand
Mhm.
like who you are and how you need to change. And if you do need to change, sometimes maybe you don't, but like, do I want to change it? Like, do I want to be a different person? Do I want to do this at a different way? And then start switching those gears on and off the mats, right? I think that's really, really important too.
Yeah,
I
it's exactly like
wouldn't
that.
I would never forget. So Babby, she like always, so when she does competitions, a lot of times she restricts what she eats. And she has, her meals all pre-prepped and everything at the studio when she's working. And I will never forget, she was
I know what
eating.
you're gonna say.
She was eating like her small little snack right before she goes on the mat. And she goes, "Do you want some?" And I was like, "You only have a little bit." "No, I don't want any of your food." And I said, "You don't want to share it anyways. Why are you asking me?" She goes, "I
Uh,
don't know. I was hoping you would say no, but I just felt like I should ask." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "No."
just
I
trying
was
to
like,
be
"I don't."
polite. Yeah.
I was like,
Right,
"I don't
I'm
know if
like,
that's like a Brazilian thing or what, but that's not. Just don't ask."
yeah. I'm like, sometimes I even be like, I'm offering you just so I'm like polite to you because you were watching me eat, but please say no, because I just have
Yeah.
this. And if I give you some, I'm gonna be without anything. It's so funny because there is a student that brings his kid to jiu-jitsu sometimes, and he asks me to watch her. And it's like in the morning, so I'm like, I bring my breakfast, I bring like my eggs, and sometimes I bring like some like a root, cassava root. It's really common in Brazil to have that for
Mhm.
breakfast, at least where I'm from. um and every time she's there and she sees me eating it, she's like, eggs, eggs. She's like, chew. And she's like, eggs, eggs, I want eggs. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like fry 5 eggs
Extra.
now so I can give her some and
Yeah,
like keep mine, because it's a kid too, but like, how am I gonna say no to her and like, no, I just have 2 eggs,
exactly.
I'm not gonna eat it. But that's like totally true of like, that's what happens. Like, I try to be nice. I'm learning of being like, please say no. I'm just offering you just to offer. Don't say yes. Like, I don't have any extra. Like,
Disclaimer before offering,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm
Say
just
no.
I'm just explaining to you that I'm offering to be nice, but like, say no, please.
Oh my goodness,
Uh,
that's so
I love
funny.
that.
But I definitely do think that It's ingrained in women, right? To say sorry and to be polite and to be nice and to not be heard and all of those things. So I think it's super hard for women coming into jiu-jitsu if they're not, if they if they haven't been conditioned out of that already to even start it, right? They're super uncomfortable to start it, and then when they get on the mats, it's a huge transition for them because it's not natural, you know.
Yeah.
It's like go over and sit in the corner and be pretty. I think, you know, for the
Mhm.
majority of
Yeah.
women, at least that's how I grew up. Um, so it's hard. It's a hard transition, and you definitely have to work on it and inside the mat and outside the mat for it to stop, I guess. Not to stop, but like you don't want it to fully stop. I guess you still want to have that feminine nature in there, but to realize it's there and overcome it when you need to.
Yeah. No one's the right time
Mhm.
to just look pretty, and when is the right time that you have to go for it and hurt
Yeah.
someone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Mari, I wanted to ask you, what do you expect from jiu-jitsu for your future? Like, how do you see yourself in the next few years? Like, what are your next goals? Maybe your next goals with your book. Like, I saw that it's doing really good on Amazon, like with a few days or a few weeks from you launching it. It was already one of the firsts for new releases. So, like, what are your goals right
Yeah. Ah, that's a great question. So I think with the book, I've been having great feedback, which is it's so nice. It fills my heart. That's what I want to do to help other women and to start those conversations as we are, having this conversation now. Like, oh no, the things that maybe if I start to realize that I do, I can choose if I want to do it or not. So those things that I want to do, I want to start having conversations about. So for the book, I just want to spread the word about the book even more, like get more women to have access to it. I think that will be amazing. And for jiu-jitsu, it's funny. I'm just having fun right now. I don't see myself like, chasing the next belt. I don't see myself chasing the next tribe. Of course, I want to progress. I want to see myself developing, but I'm more right now. I'm more about the self development side, the mental side of jiu-jitsu, all the chess game that everyone talks about, like understanding how to play that in my mind as well to help me grow and help me, grow not just inside of the mat but outside as well. So that's my aim. It's funny. I was talking to my partner in the past few days, like, oh, I said to him, I don't see myself getting the black belt, but I don't see myself stopping jiu-jitsu. So it's a funny feeling, like, I can't imagine myself with a black belt, but I'm not gonna stop. I want to keep going. So I guess I'm just going one day at a time, and see how it goes. And of course, jiu-jitsu is bringing me so many things, like, connection with so many women, amazing women, and I just want to have more of that. Just have more of this connections and just have more conversations about it. So I guess my plans are to keep doing that, and of course I have goals, but I think life always gets in the way and have other plans for you. It was the same for me. Like at the beginning, I said, oh, I don't want jiu-jitsu, is not for me. And now look at me, so
Mhm.
I guess life has, we have plans, we have goals, but sometimes life will put things on your path, and changes everything. So I think that's the beauty of it, just
Yeah.
going with those things, going with those opportunities. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you said something that I think it's really good for people to understand. Just go one day at a time. Like, don't focus on your bout, on your next bout. Don't focus on your next stripe. It is good. It is rewarding receiving that. But if it's something that you want to do for life, don't keep counting the days. Just keep coming. And when you least expect, you're gonna be a black belt. Like, I say for myself, I'm a brown belt now, and sometimes I'm like, I don't see myself as a black belt. That's gonna be really weird, like tying a black belt around my waist, but it's gonna happen because I'm gonna keep doing. Like, I know I'm gonna get there. Don't know where. Hopefully not soon. I'm like, no rush. But it's gonna happen. So it is a good way to go with it. Just go one day at a time. life might throw stuff on your way. Deal
Mhm.
with that. Keep going. That's life. That's how
Yeah.
you're gonna
and and
get
also I can
better.
find the little joys of coming to class as well,
Yeah.
to training. Because if you just rely on progress, sometimes you're gonna feel like you're not progressing. Sometimes you're
Hmm.
gonna feel like, oh, I'm stuck. So
Yeah.
find other things as well, to get yourself into the mat. Like for me, it's a pause on the day. It's a moment that I have for myself. It's almost like a meditation. I'm just there. So find those reasons to go, because some days are going to be hard. Some
Yeah.
days you're not going to be you don't want to get out of bed, or you don't want to get out of the couch or get to class.
Yeah.
But if you go, if you put yourself there, um, when you leave, you're going to feel so much better. That's
Oh
how
yes.
I always feel. Like
Yeah.
it's the hardest part is getting there, but when you leave, you feel like everything is it's as it's supposed to be. Like,
Yeah.
so I just find a little joys. I think that's what I would say to anyone. Like if you're like if you're just starting, or if you're maybe in the middle, I don't know, find little reasons to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I think
makes
that's
total
that's
sense.
yeah.
Marie, for us to finish, the name of the podcast, it's BJJ Hood. What does BJJ Hood means to you?
So for me, BJJ Hood, it means community, connection. That's where I found my family here, in New Zealand. I guess they welcomed me in such a good way, and you just feel like you belong. So I guess what I love about BJJ Hood is just having this connection. Is the same thing that we are having right now, just connecting people from all the parts of the world, just having conversations about jiu-jitsu. It's so amazing. You create that family, and you just make space for those honest conversations, conversations about hard things, about good things. So that's how I see it. It's a space, it's a community for us to talk about what really uh, gets us going, and yeah, and reasons to keep going, even though it's
Okay.
hard. Yeah.
That's awesome. Mary, thank you so much for talking to us today, taking your time. It was a great conversation. I hope we can keep connected. We connected on Instagram, so I hope we can keep seeing you there, improving, getting better, and moving up always.
Or maybe we can go to New
Thanks for
Zealand,
having me.
Oh, that would
Um,
be
you
good.
know?
Maybe
oh
we
Add
can
it
go
yeah,
to
to
New
our
Zealand.
future plans of all the different
let
places
me know.
that we're gonna go.
Let me
Yeah.
know when you girls get here. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, hopefully we will. My dream is to travel around the world with
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, so that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, for you listening to this episode, make sure you share with a friend that might learn something from us here today, that you think that's going to like to hear the story. If you want to see the book, we will leave the link here on the episode information, but you can also follow Mary on Instagram. She has the link there. What is your Instagram, Mary? Just so everybody knows.
It's Mary Klering. Uh, Mary Klering. It's KLERRING at the end. I can leave the handle for you guys, and
Yeah,
then post it on
we'll
the.
do that too. We're
Yeah.
going to have her Instagram handle here and the Amazon link for her book. Um, and if you don't follow us already, go follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Instagram and YouTube, we're at BJJ Hood Podcast, and on your favorite podcast platform, so you don't miss any of the new episodes coming out every Thursday. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Would you like to share your story? Email us at bjjhoodpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at BJJ Hood Podcast.